So I just got the Nothing Phone 3A Lite, and I'm going to give you my full review of this phone here in this video. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to my Nothing Phone 3A Lite review. This phone is not sold in the US, but it is definitely a looker, and we're going to go ahead and review it today. It's available starting today in select markets for £249 in the UK, or that's for the 128 gigs, or £279 for the 256 gigs. If you were to translate that to US dollars, that would be somewhere around 300 bucks or so. So that's a stunning price for what this phone offers. So on the back, it's going to show that it has a 3A Lite. I got the 256 gigabyte. It was manufactured in October 2025. And I already took it out of the box because I don't want to mess around with the box right now. But you can see you have a placard right here that holds the case that comes in the box. You could see that it is going to come with a TPU case. That's a nice inclusion because this phone is not going to be having a ton of accessories everywhere out there. I can see right here on the front, it's going to showcase that we do have the volume up and down. We do have ourselves the power button. This right here is for the Nothing Essential key. On the back, you can see that camera design. Let's go ahead and peel this stuff off and see how this thing looks. So let's just go ahead and pull it out of there. And you can see I got the black color. I already got fingerprints on it, touching it right now. So you can see right there. Definitely going to be a polarizing design. If you're not used to Nothing phones, they definitely stand out for being different. You can see they usually have like this little red piece in the phone that kind of signifies it's a Nothing device. You'll see a triple camera layout. We'll talk about all the specs in a minute. It does have the Nothing branding right there. And a little glyph light is back. It's a small one, but it's there. I'm pretty sure this is where the battery goes. That looks like the battery door right there. So it kind of looks definitely cleaner, I would say, than even the Nothing Phone 3 that came out. I definitely like this one a little bit more. It's a little bit more traditional looking. Big volume rocker switch right there. I like this black color. It's pretty sleek. You also have expandable memory, up to 2 terabytes of storage on micro SD. You also do have yourself a USB-C, and then your speaker grill right there. You can see on the front, 6.77 inch display. We'll talk more about exactly the specs in the display section. But for this price tag, this thing feels like, besides the frame not being maybe as premium as the top premium phones, which is not the market for this phone anyway, feels like you're going to be using a phone that kind of emulates what a flagship experience will be like for 1/3 the cost. So let's get into the key specs, but I want to make a quick shout out to Nothing for sending this phone out for review. This is not a sponsored segment or video, but it is. They did send this for me to take a look at, but all the opinions and expressions are my own. Key specs that matter will start with the 6.77 inch flexible AMOLED display. It is capable of 3000 nits of brightness, peak 1300 nits when it comes to high brightness modes. You're going to be using somewhere around a little bit under that with the actual usable right here, but 387 pixels per inch across a 1080p panel, but 120 hertz refresh on a phone that's 1/3 the cost of some of the premium devices. Also, you can see HDR content and peak brightness over here. You have a night light. So the display specifications are all here. And what's neat about the Nothing phones is that you can go into the settings and go to About Phone to see all the specifications. So let's go to About Phone, and you'll see right here, we do have the MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Pro 5G CPU, so it's capable of 5G performance, but also a lot of people know about this. The Dimensity is one of those chips that gives you a lot of power for the buck. So this phone can emulate in most scenarios for basic everyday tasks a flagship experience, which is pretty cool for the price. Also over here on the camera, you'll have a rear 50 megapixel plus 8 megapixel plus 2 megapixel camera. The main one is the standout. Having a 50 megapixel at this price is pretty cool. And then a 16 megapixel on the front is also not too shabby, if you ask me. Also, 8 gigabytes of RAM across Nothing's pretty simple and minimalistic software should be enough for this device. And 256 gigs of RAM or storage right there. So that's actually a pretty good size as well. And then 5000 milliamp hour battery. Right now we're running the Nothing OS 3.5, and we will be getting the Nothing OS 4.0 in the first half of 2026, which has been promised by Nothing themselves. Now, if we go here to special features, you're going to see that this phone does have the ability to go ahead and extend the RAM. So even though this is 8 gigabytes, you can kind of emulate with the RAM booster 16 gigs by bringing that up to 8 GB on the RAM booster. Also, this phone does house a 5000 milliamp hour battery. That's actually close in size to the premium iPhone 17 Pro Max, which is a little bit over 5000, but even higher than the other iPhone 17 lineup, which is funny to say for a phone at this price. So a very efficient choice right there. In addition, this phone is only about 199 grams across nearly 6.8 inches. So IP54 is a cost-cutting measure. It's not IP67 or IP68, but that's still water resistance and dust resistance. At least it has an IP rating. You have Panda glass on the front and the rear, so that's quite nice as well. And this is capable of 33 watt fast charging. So to have fast charging, of course, there's no wireless charging on the back glass, but you can do fast charging. You can also do 5 watt reverse wired charging, so that can help out as well. And this phone also does have an optical fingerprint sensor, which is not my favorite type, but at least it does a good job. It seems to handle my fingerprint pretty much flawlessly each and every day, so it's not really a substantial issue either. So that's everything on board, everything that this Nothing phone offers on a spec sheet, and I think overall it's a rather nice setup. So discussing that display quality a little bit closer, it does have a little bit thicker bezels than you'll find on, a more premium device. That is to be expected. Even budget level devices are starting to now look way out of their price tag. Like they look way better than what the price would suggest. But the bezels are a little bit noticeable, but it also has 2160 PWM. So it's pretty good in that respect as well, PWM dimming. So this phone is not harsh on the eyes whatsoever, and I think most people are gonna like it. The fact that it's this bright at this price is pretty nice as well. I've been enjoying that. And while the text, if you get really close, is not as sharp as a 4K display or a 2K display or even the top tier phone, at any normal distance, nobody's gonna notice. I would say if they can improve the Lite version, if they could reduce the bezels a little bit, that would be an improvement. But again, I don't expect too much at this price, but even if they reduce them a little bit more, it would look a little bit more sharp. And I think for the majority of people, the 6.77 inch is going to be maybe even too big for some people. It's plenty of space. Let's just put it that way. You could do split screen on this phone, and it doesn't seem to have an issue running it whatsoever. And this is down to the Nothing phone being close to a very stock. They just add a few of their own features, but overall it feels like a very stock version, and I do like this. This software makes this phone feel like it's punching way above its price tag, and it should be plenty of space to go ahead and type. Nothing phone, plenty of space to type on that keyboard, and again, you could see it looks plenty sharp enough for sure. So I gotta say, the overall display package, let's go ahead and take a look at the wallpapers that come with this and how they showcase that display. You can see you have AI wallpapers are available here. Let's go over here to more and find something that pops a little bit more. How about a blue? How about this? And let's scroll down a little bit more. You can see right there, looking pretty good. This is OLED after all, so you're not going to have any issues with that. If we go here, you can actually change the colors to a more alive version or a more vivid look to the panel, which is, if you're wondering why it looked a little bit more dull, it's because I had it on the regular version. So what to say about the design and build of this phone? This phone it's lightweight. It's on the front, glass on the rear, flanked by frame. It just feels like a regular phone. I don't know what else to say. It definitely has a more, again, polarizing look. That's kind of like not what Nothing does, though. They make phones that look different and stand out in the marketplace, so I'm okay with that. I think this black looks pretty sleek and techy. I definitely like that. I can see the fingerprints getting all over it though, but that's mostly seen because I have these very bright lights in the studio. In the regular scenarios, you probably wouldn't see that much fingerprints unless you're shining a light directly on the phone. But other than that, there's not much else to say. It's a pretty minimal and up-to-date modern look, modern Nothing phone look. So there's not really much I would say. I would say though that I'm not a fan of this camera being like, it just looks like out of place right there. If this camera was kind of like a little bit closer down or like underneath one of these, like down here or something, that probably would have looked more clean. Or if they put all three just straight across, just 1, 2, 3, just something very, just a little more clean looking. I know they're going for something a little different, but it just, to me, it looks odd. I don't like the lack of symmetry here. I like very, very tight design. And to me, while this is a great like transparent look here on the back, I just wish the camera look was a little bit better. Same thing I thought about the Nothing Phone 3 as well. Now, where this phone really shines tends to be in the software. You can see it's a very clean look here. You do have the Nothing inclusion of special features right here. You do have a few more wallpapers than you'll find on stock, but it's a pretty stock look with a few Nothing customizations, including different widgets. The essential key, let's go ahead and take a look at the widgets. You can see they have their own look here with the Nothing OS. So think of it like a minimal and just unique skin on top of a stock version, and it makes for a very optimized and clean Android experience. So for me, I do think that the Nothing Phone has some of the best software on the market in terms of these phones that are, you know, a little bit more affordable price points, a little bit more accessible. I do feel like this is one of the best options you can get at these price tags. It tends to punch above its weight in performance due to the lightweight software skin and the optimizations Nothing continues to push out for these. They're promising 3 years of major and 6 years security, but you'll see them pushing out frequent updates to improve the bugs and the lack of performance or any performance issues. They tend to get on it pretty quick. So this is a good experience, a really good software experience. I think for the average user, you're going to have a great time here with this one. I don't think those of you who want a ton of like features on top of features on top of features are going to love this. This is more of a distraction-free OS. It's a little bit more minimal, a little bit out of your face, kind of trying to work in the background and work with you versus distracting you and giving you ton and ton of things to play with. You can also change those if you're wondering. If you don't like those, that's the Nothing icon pack. You can just go ahead and put regular Android icon color if you want that as well. It's just a simple skin, and I think you get pretty close to what like even Pixel phones do for much less money here. So this is definitely a very, very nice option to get here if you want a clean software experience. And they also, of course, include their glyph interface, which allows you to use different ringtones with the glyph. You can also use the notifications right there. You can flip to glyph essential notifications. So a little bit extra. You have the lock screen. You could change a bit. And then we go right here, you'll see that's like a Nothing clock. They got their own clock widgets and stuff of that sort and more. They have some more wallpapers. Of course, with this phone, just like most Android phones in 2025, you could hold down to go ahead and Google search things just like that using the AI. Also, if you hold down on the power button, you can set that for Gemini. So you can use Gemini. So they're using the AI, the Gemini key right there. Then you could go ahead and use this and add notes and kind of like treat the essential space as like your little second brain on your phone if you want to do that. It's signified right there by this icon, and you go to settings and you can change other things in there. And they do update this, so you got that going for you. Of course, this is going to work well with Nothing headphones as well as, you know, earbuds. So you got plenty of options for ecosystem there. They do have Nothing watches as well, but we don't see a tablet yet, so I'm waiting for a tablet, and then we'll have like the full mobile ecosystem right there. Sans a laptop, but you know, this is a mobile, so we'll be fine if we just get a tablet. We'll have the tablet, the headphones, and the smartphone itself. All right, Nick, enough of the software talk. How's the performance? I got to tell you, it's pretty good. It definitely feels a step behind like the Nothing Phone 3, as you would expect, or you know, maybe a $1,000 phone. But it doesn't feel like it's slowing you down at all. That's the good thing. So I don't got to pay much, 1/3 the cost of a flagship, and I get a phone that still can keep up with me day to day. So that's how I would sum it up. It's solid performance for what you're paying. It's definitely not slow by no means, but it's not top tier either. But don't expect that. It can still play games just fine. Most games on the Play Store, no problem. And it doesn't. One of the crazy things about this phone is it actually has a cooling system to keep it cool. So it definitely doesn't get super, super hot or toasty, which is really good. You don't want a phone, you know, a lot of times with cheap phones, you get really hot backs. This one doesn't get too hot under load. It will close out some applications if you're pushing it hard in the background, but it's not a big deal. Like, it can even run Call of Duty. It might not do it as quick. It might not have the best frame rates, but it can still do it. So this phone, again, if this thing was sold in the US, I think it would do pretty well. The only con, though, I would say, and this, I don't think this even has to do with Nothing, but sometimes when you come out of an application, you see like that animation, how it came out a little bit choppy looking. Sometimes, because I noticed this on Pixel phones as well with more stock software, so it might be an Android thing, but the animations could be a little bit smoother, a little bit faster. This is quick, like going through the app drawer, but the actual like coming out of the application, you see it didn't look super smooth right there. So sometimes just that fly out could be a little bit better. So if they can improve that, that would be awesome. Let's move on to the camera itself. So it's a pretty unique look camera there, but you can see that in good lighting, solid pictures for this price. Not a big complaint there whatsoever. Definitely more than enough for your daily life. I think you're going to be just fine here. You also have an ultra wide camera on board, and you do have the ability to go 4K at 30. So one of the issues is we don't have 4K 60, but that's really up to you. Do you really use 4K 60? If you don't, you have pretty much all you're going to need here. You got 1080 60, you got 4K 30. If you go over to more, you got expert modes. You have, let's go back over here to more again, macro modes, panoramic modes. So you got plenty to do. You got plenty of options here. You have a night mode, a portrait mode. So plenty of photo options, and the actual photos themselves do turn out pretty good. Even on this front-facing camera, 16 megapixels actually looks pretty good. Look it's a little bit soft, but some people like a softer image. You can see right there, my face, my glasses. You could see the headphone layout right there. Again, not the sharpest thing in the world, but it'll get the job done. So the camera, I'm not disappointed. I'm not like blown away, but I'm not disappointed either. I would say that is probably one of the bigger sacrifices of any phone under like the $500 price tag is usually the cameras. But these are versatile. You know, some phones that cost more than $1,000 only have a single camera on the back. I think you know which one I'm referring to. So having triple camera and then one on the front with 16 megapixels, which is even higher than a lot of other phones on that front facing camera when it comes to the megapixels, they found a way to source sensors that work well and don't have to cost you $1,000 to get a usable camera phone. So that's pretty cool. And if we go ahead and zoom, you can zoom up to 10 times. So that's more than acceptable. That's pretty much what you get on most standard iPhones, actually. So that's solid. 10x zoom, I'll take that. And look at the detail. That's plenty sharp. Look at this. Well, that was ultra wide. I was too close for that. But look at this right here. Look at the detail. Plenty sharp for this price tag. I mean, look, I'm zooming in. Look how crispy it looks. This will get the job done, I'm telling you. Now, if this phone falls short in one area, it's the speaker. It doesn't sound the best.
Because of its thicker, bigger, because of
it's also only a single speaker.
5150 milliamp. We'll talk more about that later. So that's basically the ergonomics. You'll feel this phone in the pocket.
So that's one. If I'm going to zonk this phone, that's one of them. I'm going to zonk the speaker. They could put, even if it's not the best, a second speaker on here to have stereo sound. I know you got to make cost-cutting measures somewhere, but I feel like they could have went with maybe a cheaper speaker and still improved the audio a little bit just by adding that. So that's one area this phone is not really that great in, is the speaker or audio quality. That doesn't mean it's not usable though. It's more than usable. It's just not going to sound anywhere near mid to high end phone for sure. Connectivity wise though, this phone does support Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 6. So again, not the latest 6.0 and not the latest Wi-Fi 7 standards, but it's still the previous standard. So it's still definitely fast enough. It is 5G capable. So it's pretty quick there. It is capable of gigabit LTE as well. So this phone, it's got enough for the connectivity department for sure. So overall, that is my take on the Nothing Phone 3A Lite. Definitely feels like a light version of some of their other offerings, as they do pack a little bit more of a punch. But it doesn't seem to sacrifice too much at all. So I do think that whoever gets this is going to be pretty happy with this phone. The only thing I will state is that when you push this phone a little bit hard, sometimes it closes out a couple apps in the background. It happens on occasion, and it can chop a couple times if you're pushing on it. Like you're really going hardcore usage. But again, it's a very simple, clean software, and I do like what they brought out here with the Nothing Phone 3A Lite. Let me know your thoughts on this phone. Would you pick one up? Are you considering one? Do you not care? Let us know down below. Let us know what they can improve on the next version. Would you like to see it make its way to the US? Let us know down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will catch you all in the very next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well. And peace.